we really cannot expect a huge change in any nation, let alone in Norway, or anywhere in the world, unless we re-educate the church of the nation. Well, speaking about Norway, it's established on being an evangelical country. But the whole country being a Christian country, you can call it an ex-Christian country, like many countries are called today, like America is called. But the truth is that it's established on Christianity. And to be able to change the policies from within and to change the nation from within, those are the ones that actually elect the officials. They elect the government. We have got to re-educate the church. But the question is, how do we re-educate the church and for what? Now, I wrote a book called The Identity Theft. And the reason why I didn't call it identity theft, but I called it The Identity Theft, because it's the biggest identity theft in all of history. And that was the identity theft of the Jewish Messiah. The Jewish Messiah has been portrayed as the Roman Christ. And because he has been portrayed as the Roman Christ, it's easy not to love Israel. It's easy to hate the Jewish people. It's easy to be a Christian and not an Israel lover or pro-Zionist, which actually the anti-Zionist is the new form of anti-Jewish or anti-Semitism. And so, to be honest with you, we need to re-educate the entire church. And when I'm talking about the church, I'm talking not about one denomination. I'm talking about any denomination. I'm talking about anybody that would say that the God of Israel is your God and Yeshua, the Jewish Messiah, is your Messiah and your Savior. You may have called him Jesus Christ, but you know who I'm talking about. Born in Bethlehem, right? Raised in the Galilee, crucified in Golgotha in Jerusalem, that same one. And so if that is your Savior, then the only way you can go about things is to actually love, not only love Israel, but bless Israel. And I would actually like to quote a man that said yesterday something very important. He said there is only Israel and the nations. Israel and the nations. If you are not helping Israel, then things can happen in your nation that will cause the curse to come in instead of the blessing. Re-education is mandatory. We need to know where this gospel came from. And it didn't come from Rome. It didn't come from New York. It came from Zion. We need to know how this gospel came. It didn't come through a generic Jesus Christ. It came through a Jewish Messiah named Yeshua that comes from the tribe of Judah, from the family of David. And though born miraculously of a virgin birth, and yet of the lineage of King David and of the tribe of Judah. In fact, he's called a Jew all the way through. In Revelation 5:5, it says only the lion from the tribe of Judah can open the books of judgment. Now imagine, if through a Jew you get saved, and through a Jew you get judged. So let's say when that Jew opens the books of judgment, how will he judge the nations that have stood against Israel, that have sided with the Palestinian cause, which I really call it a deception, and Hitler's child? Why? Because it is born out of the meeting of the Mufti of Hajj Amin al-Husseini with Hitler in Berlin in 1942, and it developed later on to what we call the Palestinian cause today. If you read the Palestinian Manifesto, you'd see that there is no place for peace with them because they said so. Not because Israel said so. They said so. They said no possibility, because as long as there is one Zionist in Israel, in Zion, then we're going to continue fighting an armed fight. So when you are siding with that, it comes only from one place. Either purposeful deception and ignorance, or simply because you're naive and you're ignorant of your roots. Because your roots come from a Jewish Messiah. It comes from a nation called Israel. There is no Bible without Israel. There is no gospel without Israel. There's no salvation without Israel. So standing with Israel is standing with the mother of the nations. Not just another country, the mother of the nations. What do you get from your mother? From your mother, you get mother's milk. From your mother, you get also nurturing. From your mother, you also get, discipleship. And that's exactly what comes from Israel. That's what Romans 11, the Apostle Paul said, I magnify my ministry to the Gentiles by telling you that you are grafted into an olive tree with deep roots. Those are Jewish roots, and those roots are the ones that nourish the entire church. If the entire church will know this and we get re-educated, I'm telling you, replacement theology, anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism would break, but it will break thoroughly. And then the elected officials will be the right ones, those right leaders for the time.
So what do you think is happening to a church that tries to disconnect from Israel and the Jews?
Unfortunately, I'm going to tell you the truth. A church that disconnects from Israel and the Jews is going to be judged with the rest of the Jew haters. And you know, the rest of the Jew haters will be judged this way. When he said in Genesis 12:3, he said that he will bow down. I'm going to paraphrase it from the Hebrew, because you know it as I will bless those who bless you, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the Jewish people, and I will curse those who curse you. But I'm going to paraphrase it to you from the Hebrew. The Hebrew says the word avarech. Avarech comes from the word berech, which means the knee. So that means I will bow. That's the Almighty speaking. I will bow down my knee to favor, to bless, to exalt those that bow down their knee, to favor, to bless, to exalt my people Israel. And I will curse, who curse you is ani me'era. Me'era means I will utter a word of complete destruction and annihilation to those that klala you, to those that take you lightly, to those that dishonor you, let alone treat you badly, but even just dishonor you. When we go to Isaiah 34, we're going to read that there is a great judgment, a wrath of God that's poured out on all the nations. He said, all the nations listen. I've already given them over to the slaughter. He's speaking already in past tense. Yah is in past tense. And he said, but you say, why have you given all these nations to the slaughter? And then he goes to verse 8 and he says, because of hostility against Zion, because of the hatred against Zion. If you're an anti-Zionist, which is the movement of returning of the Jewish people back to the land, prophesied by many prophets, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Amos, I can mention many of them, then technically you're against God. Any anti-Zionist is opposing the God of Israel himself, and the end of it is a tremendous judgment for every nation like that. And every Christian like that too. You cannot say, well, but I believe in Jesus Christ. Well, who is that Jesus Christ? If it's not Yeshua, the Jewish Messiah, then who is he? Then you're believing in a false Christ. Is either the Yeshua, the Jewish Messiah, or a false Christ. If you're believing in a Jesus Christ that does not love Israel, that is not part of the, provoking the restoration of Israel, honestly, then you're believing in a false Christ, and then you're going to be judged with all of the other ones. I hope it doesn't happen, but we must re-educate the church real quick.
Do you see some positive signs regarding the church, like reconnecting with the Jewish roots?
I do. I do see positive signs. Unfortunately, it's got to be a lot more. I see positive signs, but I think that at this point, because unfortunately, many Christians have been raised up to be quite passive. And this is not the time for passivity. So the time is this. Either we grab the truth or we run with it. Like he said to Habakkuk, write the vision. Everyone that read it will run with it. That's why I wrote the identity theft. Or what happens is that the times are going so fast that they're going to leave you behind. So yes, I see positive, but I also see the need for running with it.
Thank you.
Can I add something?